I cooked my husband's favorite meal for our anniversary, but he insulted me cruelly at the table. I said nothing, just ended it. 2 weeks later, he begged me to undo what I did. Okay, listen, because I'm about to tell you something that happened on my wedding anniversary that will make your jaw drop. Imagine pouring your heart into a special dinner, only for your husband to literally spit your food out and tell you he only married you because his mom didn't stop him. Yeah, that really happened. And it was just the beginning of the most insane few weeks of my life. Honestly, I'm still shaking as I tell this, and my phone's been blowing up from people I can't even look at right now. For context, I'm Alicia. My husband, or maybe soon-to-be ex-husband, Arthur, and I had been together for almost 6 years, married for 3. We met at this quirky outdoor mural event, and he seemed, well, not like a try-hard. We laughed, got coffee, and I thought I'd found someone good. Things were decent for a while. We moved in, got married, the usual. But there was always this weird tension with his family, especially his mom. She never, ever liked me. I could feel it in her cutting little comments. Oh, I guess some people just don't know how to keep a house. Or, you sure you want to eat that, Alicia? Always delivered with this fake, tinkling laugh that made my skin crawl. She had this archaic, wives should be wives mentality, actually saying things like, a good wife knows how to stand behind her man, not beside him. Barf. Arthur always brushed it off. She's just like that, he'd say. Ignore her. But how do you ignore your mother-in-law, your husband's mother, when she's actively undermining you? And then there was Uncle Randy. He's basically a walking HR nightmare, always with a drink in hand, always making inappropriate jokes. The family just shrugged him off, like he was some charming rogue. I usually avoided him, but sometimes you just couldn't. So, for our anniversary last week, I decided to go all out. Last year was a couch and TikToks kind of night, which was fine, but I wanted to make this one special. Arthur had been distant lately. Moody, checked out, glued to his phone. I asked if he wanted to do anything, and he just shrugged, said, whatever you want. So, I planned. I decided to cook his absolute favorite childhood meal. I even texted his mom for the recipe. Hindsight, that was a huge mistake. She sent me this vague, vibes-only version, no measurements, but I figured it out. I spent the entire afternoon on it, went to the fancy grocery store for the good ingredients, made enough for seconds. I set the table, lit the candles we got as a wedding present, even put on a playlist of our old dating songs, knowing he'd probably roll his eyes. Then, about an hour before he was supposed to be home, my phone buzzed. A text from Arthur. My uncle and mom are coming over, forgot to mention it. I swear, I almost threw my phone across the room. Who invites their mother and their drunk uncle to their anniversary dinner? I texted back, LOL, what? He just replied, they'll be quick. Randy's in town and mom wanted to see the apartment. I should have canceled everything right then and there. But I was so deep into it. The food was almost ready. I figured, fine, we'll eat together, they'll leave, and then it'll just be us. They showed up and his mom immediately started inspecting everything. Not even subtle. She ran her finger along the counter, peeked into the fridge, made this little disappointed huff she thought no one noticed. Randy was already half drunk, making crude jokes about the fancy table setup. Arthur was acting strange, barely said hello, just dumped his bag and went to change. I finished dinner, brought everything out and tried to make conversation, but it was like talking to a wall. His mom kept asking if I followed her recipe exactly, saying she could always tell when people try too hard. I laughed it off. Arthur sat down, barely looked at me, just started scrolling on his phone. I nudged him under the table. He sighed, put it down. And that's when everything completely derailed. Everyone started eating, or at least pretending to. Arthur took one bite, chewed, and just stopped. He looked at me, then at his mom, and then, I am not even kidding, he spat the food into his napkin like a damn toddler. His mom looked mortified, but not for me. For him, like he was embarrassing her. Randy, of course, burst out laughing, muttering something about me poisoning the food. I asked if something was wrong with it, and Arthur slammed his fork down. Maybe if you'd listened to my mom more, you'd know how to cook a simple meal, he snapped. Then he said something that is burned into my brain forever. Now I see why my mom begged me not to marry you. You're useless in every way. I just stared at him. His mom didn't say a word, just did that tight, purse lip thing. Randy laughed again, adding, Arthur should have married someone who could at least fake being a real woman. I just sat there, frozen. I knew I should have yelled or thrown something, but I couldn't. I just looked at him, and the words came out. You just buried this marriage with your own mouth. Remember that. I stood up, grabbed my phone, and walked out of that apartment. I heard Randy say something else, but I didn't even catch it. I slammed the door behind me and didn't look back. I walked to the end of the block, called my sister, Jessica. Can I come over? I asked. She didn't ask why, just said, yeah, come now. I went to her place, sat on her couch, and didn't even cry. Just sat there, scrolling through Instagram, ignoring the texts from Arthur. First, come back, then you're overreacting, then silence. Jessica made me tea, which I didn't drink. We watched some dumb Netflix show, and I was just numb. She kept asking if I wanted to talk, but I just wanted not to be alone. I stayed over, didn't sleep, just listened to the traffic. The next morning, Arthur texted again. Mom's upset. Randy's sorry, LOL. And I should come home to talk it out. He said he was tired, he didn't mean it, but then he added, I never listen. I always make things harder than they need to be. I didn't reply. That afternoon, I went back to the apartment, hoping to avoid everyone, but Arthur was there. He tried to act normal. We can just forget about last night, he said. Let's move on. I just stared at him. He actually said, I should have married someone who knows her place. He looked at me like I was supposed to apologize. I walked past him and left again. I could hear him muttering about how I always blow things up, how his mom was right. He never should have expected me to change. Jessica picked me up that night, got pizza, and didn't ask questions until I told her. She just shook her head, said she never liked him anyway. For the next few days, I crashed at Jessica's. I tried not to think, but it was impossible. Arthur kept texting, sometimes sorry, sometimes blaming me. I blocked him, then unblocked him, morbidly curious to see what he'd say next. His mom texted me once, too. I hope you two can work things out. Marriage is hard work. And you should try harder to make Arthur happy. That just made me furious. I started making a list of everything I needed from the apartment. What was mine? What was his? I realized how much of my life had just been absorbed into his. My favorite mugs, my books, all mixed in. I texted him, said I'd come by when he wasn't there. He said, fine, just let me know. But that dinner kept replaying in my head. Did I miss something? Why did he snap like that? Yeah, he was always weird about his mom. If she disapproved, he'd sulk for days. He grew up hearing that a wife's job is to make a man's life easier, and I guess that just stuck. I tried talking to him about it before, but he'd always shrug me off, say I was too sensitive, or just looking for reasons to be upset. Look, I know I'm not the most chill person, but I don't start drama for no reason. How do you say stuff like that to someone you claim to love, and then expect them to just get over it because it makes things easier for you? I even talked to my own mom, which was a mistake because she started crying, asking what she did wrong raising me. Then my dad called, 2 hours away, asking, do you want me to come get you? I told him no, because I didn't even know where I wanted to be. My parents were trying, but they didn't really get it. My mom also said marriage is hard work, but at least she didn't blame me. Jessica just kept telling me to move out, be done with it. But it's not that simple. We had a lease, shared bills, and most of my friends were mutuals with Arthur. The thing is, I wasn't letting this go. Maybe that makes me petty, but I don't care. I wasn't going to be the wife who just eats and smiles for his family. I didn't care if his mom thought I wasn't good enough. I didn't care if Randy thought I wasn't a real woman. I wasn't going to sit there and let people talk to me like that and then laugh it off. I'm not built that way. I was done being nice about it. So, I started making a plan. I wasn't sure exactly how it would go, but I wasn't just walking away and letting him think he could say whatever he wanted and get away with it. He wanted me to know my place? Oh, he was about to find out exactly where my place was, and it was not behind him. I went back to the apartment a few days later to get the rest of my stuff. I told Arthur I'd be there, and he just said, whatever. Just don't make a scene. As if I was the one who made a scene. I'll tell you right now, I refuse to be the one losing sleep over this. He can choke on it for a change. Okay, so if you read my last update, you know about the dinner from hell. It hasn't even been 2 weeks, and I swear I've aged 5 years. The weirdest part was how normal everything else looked. I was still brushing my teeth, scrolling through TikTok, texting my group chat about dumb memes. But then my phone would buzz, and it would be him, or his mom, or sometimes even Randy. Yes, the uncle who called me not a real woman. He thought sending a meme would smooth things over. I wanted to throw my phone out the window. I knew I had to go back to the apartment to get more of my stuff. I was running out of clean clothes at Jessica's, and she started hinting that her closet was for her and not for my fugly ex's t-shirts. She's not subtle. I texted Arthur, said I'd be by in the afternoon. He said fine, but then his mom texted me too. That was new. She said she wanted to be there when I came to talk things out as a family. I'm not even kidding. I left her on read. Jessica said I should bring her with me, and I was like, yes, no way I'm going there alone. When we walked in, Arthur's mom was already sitting on the couch like she owned the place, clutching her purse, looking around like she was waiting for someone to bring her tea. Arthur was by the kitchen island, arms crossed, doing that thing where he wouldn't look directly at me. I could tell immediately this was going to be a long, awkward afternoon. I started grabbing my stuff, real casual, chargers, makeup bag, the mug my dad gave me, you know. His mom said my name, asked if we could sit down and have a civil conversation. I almost laughed. Jessica nudged me, so I sat, but I kept my bag on my lap. She started in, all soft-voiced, saying things got heated. Families argue, but marriage is about forgiveness. And she knew Arthur didn't mean what he said. Maybe you could apologize for storming out and making a scene in front of the family. I just looked at her, then at Arthur, who was staring at the countertop. I asked if he really thought I owed anyone an apology, and he just shrugged. His mom said, well, you could have handled it better. You embarrassed Arthur. All he wanted was a nice dinner, and now everyone's talking. I told her point blank, what happened wasn't a scene. It was me standing up for myself after being humiliated in my own home. Your son spat my food out and called me useless. And Randy called me not a real woman. I'm not apologizing for leaving. She looked at me like I'd just slapped her. Jessica piped up, if anyone owes an apology, it's Arthur and Randy, not Alicia. Arthur's mom got all flustered, said she wasn't there to take sides, but that sometimes people just need to let things go for the sake of family. I asked her, would you have let anyone talk to you like that? She completely ignored the question, just said, it's different. You're married. You made vows. Arthur finally looked at me and said, can we not do this right now? Just get your stuff. You're right, I said, standing up. I'll just get my stuff. I brushed past him, and he tried to grab my arm. I shook him off. You're making this worse, he said. No, I replied, you did that yourself. I was in the bedroom, stuffing things into a duffel bag when his mom came in behind me, all quiet. I know Arthur's been under a lot of stress, she said. His job's not great. His uncle's a bad influence, but you could have tried harder to make him happy. A good wife makes sacrifices. I turned around. I've made enough sacrifices, I said. You raised him to think women should just take it, and I'm not going to. She called me disrespectful, said she'd never been spoken to like that in her life. I just kept packing. Jessica came in, told her to leave me alone. By then, I was beyond mad. I packed up all my stuff, everything I could fit. My kitchen gadgets, my plants, all my books, my ring light, my speakers, even the good blanket his mom gave us that she always said was family property. Honestly, I didn't even want it, but I took it just to be petty. I slammed drawers, made noise. I didn't care. Arthur stood in the hallway, staring at the wall. You're really leaving over this? He asked. Yeah, I am, I said. You're just doing this to get attention. I laughed. If I wanted attention, I'd have posted your mom's good wife speech on Instagram stories. He looked like he wanted to say something else, but he didn't. I loaded everything into Jessica's car. His mom followed me out, started saying I was overreacting, that I was breaking Arthur's heart, that I'd regret this. I stopped, turned around, and said, if your son didn't want to lose his wife, maybe he should have acted like a husband. She actually tried to slap me, full-on hand raised, but Jessica stepped between us and shoved her back. Arthur's mom gasped, dropped her purse, and Arthur finally ran over, yelling at Jessica. Jessica told him to back off. Maybe you should have protected Alicia from your family instead of letting them trash her in her own home. I just got in the car. The ride back to her place was dead silent for about 3 minutes. Then, we both just started laughing. One of those laughs where you don't even know why. It's just relief and anger and disbelief. I texted a couple friends about what happened. One of them, Nancy, said she heard Arthur's cousin saying the family group chat was blowing up about how I disrespected his mom. I didn't even care. I just texted back, good. Maybe they'll finally leave me alone. The next day, Arthur texted again, said he wanted to talk. I replied. You're being childish, he said. You're being an asshole, I texted back, not even waiting for a reply. I texted my landlord, asked about taking my name off the lease. He said it was doable, but would take paperwork. I started looking for a new place. Nothing fancy, just something with decent light and a lock that felt mine. Word got around fast. Mutual friends started texting, some saying they were so sorry, hoping we'd work it out. Some just wanted to know what really happened because Arthur was telling people I flipped out over nothing. I just told the truth. No drama, just facts. He spat out my food, called me useless. His uncle called me not a real woman. His mom blamed me, so I left. Some people didn't believe me or said there must be more to it. I get it. People always want some secret reason, but sometimes it really is just that simple. My real friends got it. I started feeling this weird pressure, like I had to justify leaving. My aunt called, said she heard from my mom, wanted to know if I was really sure. Yeah, I am, I said. She said, you know, you're not getting any younger. Maybe just try to work it out. I blocked Arthur on everything for a few days. He started emailing me, which is wild, who even uses email for this stuff. You're making this so much harder than it needs to be, he wrote. Just come home so we can fix it. I ignored him. Jessica started giving me pep talks every morning, saying I should take him for everything he's got, but honestly, I just wanted my peace. I didn't want to be in the same room as him, let alone fight him for stuff. Then, 3 days later, Nancy called. Did you see Arthur's Facebook? She asked. No, I said, I blocked him, remember? She said he posted some long rant about how some people don't value family and marriage is about sacrifice, and the comments were blowing up. I didn't even have the energy to care. But then my mom texted me a screenshot, are you okay? I said, yes, please stop sending me his crap. Now, here's where it gets extra messy. Arthur's mom called my mom. She said she was worried about Arthur, that I broke his spirit. That maybe my family should talk some sense into me. My mom just said, Alicia's a grown woman. She'll do what she wants. My dad called, said if Arthur showed up at their house, he'd call the cops. I laughed. Honestly, I don't think Arthur would dare. I deleted every single picture of him off my phone. I didn't want reminders. Then, out of nowhere, Arthur showed up at Jessica's. She was at work. I was there alone. The doorbell rang. I looked through the peephole. There he was, hands in his pockets. I opened the door just enough to block him from coming inside. Can we talk? He asked. I don't think there's anything left to say, I told him. You're making a mistake, he said. You're throwing away everything for one bad night. It wasn't one night, I shot back. It was years of you letting your family treat me like crap and acting like it's my fault. You're exaggerating, he said. You always do this. I'm not doing this anymore, I said, starting to close the door. He tried to push it open. I shoved back hard. He stumbled, looked totally shocked. I never thought you'd actually leave, he said. Well, now you know, I replied, and I slammed the door. I texted Jessica, told her what happened. She was furious. Next time he comes over, she said, I'm calling the landlord. Please do, I said. I signed the paperwork to take my name off the lease. The landlord said it would take a week or two. I started moving my stuff to a friend's spare room. It's small, but it's quiet, and no one tells me how to load a dishwasher. I even got a cheap lockbox for my important papers because Jessica was paranoid Arthur would mess with my mail. Honestly, I thought I'd feel more sad, but mostly I'm just pissed. I keep thinking about that dinner, about his mom's face when I called her out, about Randy laughing like it was the funniest thing he'd ever seen. I keep wishing I'd thrown something, but I know I did the right thing by leaving. And I'm not going to be quiet about it either. If people ask, I tell the truth. I'm not protecting anyone's reputation but my own. So yeah, that's where it's at. My family's got my back. Jessica's basically my bodyguard. I'm living out of a suitcase, but I feel more myself than I have in years. I'm not letting them guilt me back into that house. If Arthur wants to know what it feels like to be alone, he's about to find out. And if anyone's wondering, yeah, I'm still mad. I'm not sorry for it either. I'm not letting this drop. My next move's mine. So last week, Nancy, she's one of my oldest friends, truly neutral, which is rare these days, messages me. She's still doing her birthday thing, just a few people, nothing wild. She really wanted me to come. I told her, I don't know, I'm not trying to show up somewhere Arthur might be. But she swore she invited both of us because she didn't want to pick sides. And honestly, she's stubborn as hell. If he starts anything, I'm out, I told her. She promised she'd shut down any drama, but I wasn't holding my breath. The day of the party, I was already a mess of anxiety. I kept changing my shirt, not sure if I should look like I'm doing fine or look like, don't even talk to me. I landed on a hoodie and my favorite jeans because, whatever, I didn't need to impress anyone. Jessica, my sister, told me to just go have some fun, and if it sucked, she'd come pick me up. So I walked in and the vibe was instantly weird. Everyone was kind of quiet, and I could feel people looking at me, but nobody said anything directly. Nancy hugged me, said she was happy I showed up, and dragged me to the kitchen to help set out snacks. That's when I saw Arthur's jacket on the coat rack, and my stomach dropped. I wished I'd told Nancy to just uninvite him, but too late now. I was halfway through filling a bowl with chips when I heard Arthur's laugh from the living room. It was this fake, too loud laugh, like he was trying to prove something. He was holding court with a few of his friends, telling some story about his crazy week. And I could tell he'd already spun a version of things to them because one of them kept glancing at me like I was the villain in a soap opera. I ignored it and just kept arranging snacks, but I was already so annoyed. Things got awkward fast. People kept asking if I was okay, but in that way where you just know they want gossip. One friend tried to be subtle. So you and Arthur? You guys taking a break? I just said, no, we're done. She looked shocked, like she thought I'd say it was just a phase. I saw Arthur watching from the other side of the room, and I could tell he was annoyed that I wasn't just hiding in a corner. Nancy tried to keep things light, put on a playlist, started pouring drinks. I took a seltzer and tried to melt into the background. But then Randy, yes, the uncle, showed up. He wasn't even invited. He just came with Arthur. Can you believe that? He walked in already smelling like a brewery, made a big show of hugging Nancy, then looked right at me and said, well, if it isn't the little runaway wife. I didn't even react, just stared at him until he looked away. Arthur kept trying to make eye contact. He was doing that thing where he looks at me, then at his friends, then back at me, like he wanted me to come talk to him so he could look like the bigger person. I wasn't playing that game. I stuck with Nancy and a couple of other people, talking about literally anything else, TV shows, new restaurants, the weather, I didn't care. About an hour in, I ended up in the hallway, waiting for the bathroom. Arthur came over, leaned against the wall. So, you're really not coming home, he asked. No, I'm not, I said. You're just going to throw it all away over a stupid fight? It wasn't a fight, I told him. It was you and your family treating me like trash. I already said I was sorry, he said. No, I replied, you said I overreacted. He got all huffy. So, you're just going to make me look like the bad guy in front of everyone? You did that yourself, I said. I tried to walk past him, but he blocked the hallway. I told him to move. He didn't, so I pushed past him. He stumbled into the wall, looking completely shocked. I didn't care. I went back to the kitchen. I guess he didn't like that, because not even 10 minutes later, he was telling his side of things to a whole group in the living room. He was loud enough that I could hear every word from the kitchen. Some people just don't understand how much pressure it is to keep a family together, he pontificated, and how sometimes people have to make sacrifices for the greater good. Marriage isn't easy, and sometimes you just have to suck things up, but some people just can't handle it. I could feel people looking at me, waiting to see if I'd respond. I decided, screw it. I walked into the living room, set my drink on the table, and said, you want to tell everyone what really happened? He went dead quiet. You want to talk about sacrifice? I continued. How about the anniversary dinner I cooked? The one you spat out in front of your mom and uncle, called me useless, and then let Randy call me not a real woman. Want to tell everyone about that? The room went absolutely silent. Arthur tried to laugh it off. It was a joke. We were all joking. She's just sensitive. Oh, I said, my voice cutting through the silence. So, when you tell your wife she's useless and let your creepy uncle call her not a real woman, that's a joke. I looked at Randy, who was suddenly very interested in his drink. Someone from Arthur's side piped up, that can't be true. Arthur wouldn't say that. I just stared at her. Ask anyone who was there. Ask his mom. Ask Randy. I'm not making anything up. I looked around at everyone. I didn't leave because of one fight. I left because I'm done letting people treat me like garbage and then blame me for not smiling about it. Arthur started to get defensive. You're twisting things. You always have to make a scene. Maybe if you listened to me once in 6 years instead of your mom and your drunk uncle, I said, my voice shaking with righteous anger, you'd still have a wife. Randy tried to butt in again. Oh, lighten up. It was just dinner. Yeah, I snapped, looking him right in the eye. For you, it's just dinner. For me, it's 6 years of biting my tongue so you can make your little jokes. I'm not doing it anymore. I looked around at the stunned faces. You want to know why I'm leaving? Because I'd rather be alone than spend one more day with a man who thinks knowing my place means eating what I'm given and saying thank you. Nancy tried to change the subject, but it was too late. The whole party was just staring at us. Arthur looked around like he wanted someone to back him up, but nobody said anything. I grabbed my bag, said, "I'm done here," and walked out. On the way out, I heard someone whisper, "I can't believe he really said that." I was standing on the curb, texting Jessica to come get me, when Arthur came out, following me to the sidewalk. "You didn't have to do that," he said. "Neither did you," I replied. He tried to grab my arm. I pulled away hard. He got mad. "You're making a huge mistake." "You made it for me," I said. Then, get this, Randy came out, tried to get in my face. "You're just mad you're not part of the family anymore." I laughed. "If being part of your family means being treated like dirt, then good riddance." He tried to step closer, but Nancy came running out and physically got between us. She told Randy to back off, said if he didn't leave me alone, she'd call the cops. He finally slinked away, muttering. Over the next couple of days, I got texts from people who were at the party. Some said, "I had no idea it was that bad." I'm sorry. Some just wanted the tea, I ignored those. A few of Arthur's friends unfollowed me, which was fine. They never liked me anyway. Nancy texted me, said she was proud of me for standing up for myself. She even said Randy tried to talk his way back into the party, and she threatened to call his wife. I laughed. Apparently, even his own family is tired of his crap. Arthur texted me a few times, said I embarrassed him, said I made him look bad in front of his friends. Oh, and get this, his mom tried to call my mom again, saying I caused a scene and ruined the family's reputation. My mom just told her to stop calling. Honestly, I wish I'd gotten that on video. I'm still figuring out my next steps, but I feel lighter. I don't have to tiptoe around anyone. I can eat what I want, watch trash TV, leave my dishes in the sink if I feel like it. I keep thinking about that night, about how Arthur looked when everyone realized he wasn't the victim. And it makes me feel I don't even know, not happy, but satisfied. Like, yeah, I did that. I know this isn't the end, not really. Arthur's still out there, probably telling his version to anyone who will listen. His mom is probably still fuming, but I don't care. I finally did what I should have done years ago. I stopped letting people walk all over me. Next up is finishing the paperwork and making it official. And if he thinks he can guilt me into coming back, he's got another thing coming. I spent too long being quiet. Not anymore. Honestly, I thought that would be the peak of the drama, but I guess I should have known better. I thought I'd be writing this from some new, peaceful headspace, but no lie, it's just as messy as ever, just in a different way. It started with the keys. You ever notice how keys get heavy when you don't want them anymore? I had this little pile, car, mailbox, apartment, the extra one for the storage unit, all on this keychain he bought me on a trip, which I mostly kept out of guilt because I never even liked it. I'd been carrying them around for days, just switching bags, not really wanting to go back to the old place, but knowing I had to do it eventually. Jessica kept bugging me, just get it over with. The sooner you're done, the sooner you can stop thinking about it. So, I finally texted Arthur, told him I'd come by when he was at work. Need to grab what's left and drop off my key. He replied, "What's the rush? Just wait. We can talk. Maybe work things out." I ignored that. I literally just said, "I'll be there Tuesday morning." No reply. So Tuesday came. I rolled up around 9 a.m., headphones in, hoodie up, hoping to be invisible. It was cloudy, which felt right, actually. I let myself in, and I swear the place hits different when you know you're about to never see it again. Everything looked smaller. The kitchen still smelled like the candles his mom gave us, which made me want to throw them out the window, but I didn't because I was trying to be the bigger person. The couch was covered in crumbs and someone's hoodie, not mine. There was a pile of mail on the table, mostly junk, one envelope from the bank, which I left for him because I'm done with his bills. I started packing the last of my stuff into boxes. It was the boring things, phone chargers, some books, my favorite mug that got left in the dishwasher, a couple of plants I didn't want to kill by moving them too soon. I moved slow, just being methodical so I didn't forget anything. The whole time, I was half expecting Arthur to come busting through the door, but he didn't. I found a note taped to the fridge. It was in his handwriting. Just said, "I wish you'd talk to me." I actually laughed, ripped it down, and tossed it. I'm done talking. I got to the bedroom, opened the closet, and found a box I didn't remember packing. It was all the anniversary cards we ever gave each other, shoved together with some random receipts and old photos. I almost just left it. But then I saw one of the cards was from his mom, like a welcome to the family card from our first Christmas. It's wild to think she actually pretended to like me back then. I threw the whole box in the trash. After an hour, I was done. I left his stuff exactly where it was. I wasn't giving him the satisfaction of saying I trashed anything. I set my key on the table next to the junk mail. Then I pulled out the manila envelope with the divorce papers. To be honest, that was the most satisfying part. I left them right in the center of the table so he couldn't miss them. For good measure, I left a sticky note on top. You buried this marriage with your own mouth. Remember that. I walked out, slammed the door behind me. It wasn't even noon yet. The calls started around 3 p.m. First, it was just a missed call from Arthur. Then another, then a text, you need to come back. We need to talk. I didn't answer. 5 minutes later, he called again. I let it ring. By dinner time, I had 7 missed calls and 3 voicemails. The voicemails were a mix. The first one was all, I don't understand why you're doing this. The second was angrier, like, you're making a huge mistake. You'll regret this. The third was almost whiny, saying, you can't just leave. You owe me a conversation. I deleted all of them. He texted, I'm coming over if you don't pick up. I texted back, you show up here, I'll call the cops. He didn't show up. For once, he listened. Jessica came home, saw my face, asked, how many voicemails so far? 3, I said, but I bet he's just getting started. She laughed. Block him already. I want him to see I'm not answering, I said. That's the point. I got a DM from his cousin on Insta saying, Arthur's really upset. Could you at least meet up and talk? I replied, tell him to stop contacting me, and blocked the cousin. 3 days went by like this. I kept expecting him to show up at Jessica's. At one point, I heard footsteps in the hall, and I was ready to throw hands, but it was just the neighbor's dog. Nancy texted me, said Randy, the uncle, was telling people I stole half the apartment. I laughed. Sent her a pic of my sad little pile of boxes and said, tell him if he wants the ugly teapot back, he can come get it himself. She said, he's not allowed in her building anymore after what happened at her birthday. I started getting more messages from people on both sides. Some friends were supportive, some were just nosy, wanting the full story. I kept it short, just sent them the same line. He spat out my food, called me useless, let his uncle call me not a real woman, and then told me to know my place. I left. No one really had a comeback for that. My mom called, said she got a letter from Arthur's mom. Yes, a literal letter. She said I was breaking up the family, that I should think about the vows I took, that I needed to forgive and forget. My mom said, you don't have to respond. I'll handle her. Thanks, I said. Please do. At this point, Arthur's desperation was getting embarrassing. He started posting vague stuff on Facebook, like, some people just don't appreciate what they have and loyalty is rare these days. A couple of mutuals sent me screenshots, but I just muted him everywhere. I noticed he'd changed his profile pic to one of the two of us, which was actually hilarious considering half his family already unfollowed me. I texted Nancy, asked if she thought he'd ever stop. She said he'd stop when he finds someone else to control. I said, hope she likes bland food and his mom's advice. The real kicker is Arthur tried one last time. He sent a mutual friend to mediate. This guy, Cody, texted out of nowhere. You should really talk to Arthur. He's a mess. I said, if he's a mess, maybe he should clean up after himself for once. Cody said, he's not himself. His mom is worried. His uncle is saying you ruined the family. I replied, if being part of the family means eating crap and being grateful for it, they can keep.